Welcome to Question Coach. This podcast is for you founders, CEO, leaders who make decisions all day, carry pressure and deal with people. I am Audrey Jeanron. I work with leaders who are expected to be confident and in control while handling doubt, overload, conflict, and human complexity. This podcast is about one thing: understanding humans, yourself and others, so you can align purpose, people, and performance. No theory for show, just insights and practical tools to help you lead people, not just systems. Let's get into today's episode.
So, hello everyone. This week I want to talk about something that keeps coming back, a topic that feels almost invisible and yet incredibly costly for organizations. Last week I took part in a panel discussion where we talked about growth, scaling, performance, talent retention. And interestingly, at some point in the discussion, we all circled back to the same question. Not really strategy or not technology, not even leadership at the top, but middle management, middle managers. And what struck me is that it's not a one off conversation. I talk about this several times a week with leaders, HR directors, managers themselves, different companies, different industries, same pattern. So today I want to explore a simple but uncomfortable question, which is, why do middle managers break first when companies scale? And more importantly, what can we actually do to preserve them, not emotionally, not symbolically, but structurally? So, first, to be clear about something, scaling is not just about growing revenue, headcount, or market share. Scaling means also complexity, more decisions, more interfaces, more ambiguity, more speed. And here's the paradox: most companies invest heavily in strategy, systems, and tools to scale, but very few invest seriously in the management layer that is supposed to carry that growth and that strategy and those systems and tools to scale. So we assume that manager will just adapt, that they will set up, that they will more or less figure it out. And when it doesn't work, we talk about resilience, mindset, stress management. But what if the problem is not the people? What if the problem is the way we design the role of the middle managers? The middle managers, they sit in the most uncomfortable position in a scaling organization. They are expected to translate strategy into action, to keep teams engaged and motivated to deliver results, to absorb pressure from above and from below and from the clients. They're asked to represent leadership without always having leadership power. They are accountable without always having decision clarity. They are close enough to the teams to feel everything and far enough from the top to have very limited influence. And when things become unclear, contradictory, or overloaded, guess where the tension lands? In the middle. Middle managers become shock absorbers, emotional buffers, operational firefighters. They are expected to make the system work, even when the system itself is not clear. Let me name three types of overload that I see again and again. The first overload is a decision overload. Middle managers make hundreds of micro decisions every week, often without clear frameworks. What should be escalated? What can be decided locally? What is a priority today? What can wait? When decision rules are really unclear, managers compensate by thinking more, checking in more, hesitating more. This is cognitively exhausting. The second overload that I see is a relational overload. Middle managers carry the emotional reality of their teams: frustration, anxiety, resistance, fatigue. They are expected to listen, regulate, reassure, while often having no real space to process their own emotions. They hold others, but who holds them? The third overload, that I see is the operational overload. So we have the decision overload, the relational overload. The third one is the operational overload. Many middle managers are still expected to be top experts and managers and coordinators and problem solvers. They keep doing because stopping feels risky. Delegation feels unsafe. Letting go feels totally irresponsible. So they overfunction, and over time, they burn. In that moment, at this point, many organizations respond with the same solution. Let's make our manager more resilient. I don't know if you noticed that resilience is about the answer to everything nowadays, but maybe I think, at least, I think that resilience here in this case, this is a wrong answer. Making our manager more resilient in that moment is not for me the right answer. They get more training on stress, more workshops on well being, more individual coping strategy. But for me, here is the uncomfortable truth. If your middle managers need to be more resilient, it's also because your system is already too heavy. Resilience should not be the price people pay for poor organizational design. And I will say that again. Resilience should not be the price that your middle manager pay for your poor organizational design. When strong, competent managers start doubting themselves, when exhaustion becomes normal, when disengagement becomes silent, this is not a personal weakness. It's a systemic signal that needs to be taken into account. So, in that moment, what will actually work? First, clarity of the role of the managers. The role clarity is the first thing that will actually preserve middle managers. What is expected from them? What is expected from a manager? And what is not? And if you have several layers of manager, like junior manager, manager, senior manager, assistant manager, and whatnot, it is important to offer them the clarity in their role. Where do they have autonomy? Where is alignment required? What success really looks like? That is the first thing that will help them to be preserved in this scaling moment. Second thing that you need to do is to give them or upskill them for their core management skills. Not tools, not frameworks for just the sake of frameworks, but skills like decision making, delegation, prioritization, feedback, managing tension and ambiguity. So those skills, those core management skills need to be recognized, upskilled, and then supported. The third thing that you need to do to support your middle management is to give them space. And when I say space, is also space and time. Space, time to step back, to reflect, to learn with their peers, to professionalize their role. Middle managers don't need more motivation. They need structure, skills, space, and time, and the motivation will appear. It's a consequence. You know that you have rights and you do right to your middle managers when you give them the clarity, the skills, and the space that they need. And in that moment, you will get them motivated, engaged, not the other way around. And this is exactly what I observe in companies that scale sustainably. They don't expect middle management to just figure it out alone. They invest in the management layer intentionally. And this is precisely why, with my colleague Mario, we designed the Manager Bootcamp, by the way, not as a training, not a motivational program, but really a transition space to give space to those managers to upskill and to get clarity. So we tackle the three things that work: clarity, skills, and space. And this is why it's important for you to do it. And if you don't want to do it alone, come with us and we will explain how to do that with your people. This is a transition space to help managers step into their role with clarity, competence, confidence. And if these topics resonate with you, whether you are a leader or a manager yourself, I will share more about this at the end of the episode. So today, let me leave you with two questions. If you are a leader, what are your middle managers currently compensating for silently? What are your middle management currently compensating for silently? If you are a leader, that is a good question that I ask a lot of leaders around me. And if you are yourself a middle manager, what part of your exhaustion comes from effort and what parts come from lack of structure? And what can you do about it yourself already? What is in your power? So that part of your exhaustion comes from your effort, or what part comes from lack of structure? Scaling doesn't require stronger people. It requires better design leadership systems and clarity. So before we wrap up today, I want to come back to something important. If you're listening to this episode and you're thinking, yes, this is exactly what I see in my organization, or yes, that's exactly how I feel in my role, then this is not a coincidence. This tension in the middle, it doesn't disappear on its own. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. And asking people to simply be more resilient is not a long-term solution. What makes a real difference is when organizations decide to make the manager role really clear, defined, and professional. Let me explain. The manager role is not the role of a super expert. Most of the people are accessing the manager role because they are strong experts. But being a manager and being a super expert are two different sets of skills, and it's not the same purpose. So you have at some point in time to define, to clarify, and to upskill then the people entering the managerial role. That's exactly why we created the manager bootcamp I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. The bootcamp is not a training program. It's not somewhere where you can collect management tools. It's a structured journey to help managers and middle managers to clarify their role, strengthen their core management skills, and step into leadership without burning out. So it's 2 days that we really set the scene, and then a coaching initiative as a cohort of managers together during 3-4 months, where we accompany your managers on the field to make what they learned during those 2 days actionable on the field with you in your organization. If you are a middle manager who feels stretched, overloaded, stuck between expectations, or if you are a leader, an HR leader who wants to stabilize the management layer before scaling further, then I invite you to take a look. You'll find all the details of the landing page of the Manager Bootcamp in the description of this episode. And when you read this landing page, if it resonates, you know what to do. Your next step is directly on the page. Because scaling doesn't require tougher managers, it requires better equipped managers. Thank you for listening, and I see you in the next episode of Question Coach. Bye bye.